Mr. Clark, as you might expect, water, excuse me, water planning is a big part of our state's future in Arizona. That's really important, and part of our continued progress on settling, tribal water rights claims is a big part of this. These settlements obviously are preferable to litigation. They can provide much-needed water supplies on reservations and create certainty, allow for partnerships with non-tribal water users as well. The Indian Resources section of the Environmental and Natural Resources Division that you hope to head plays a role in these settlements. How do you see the division under your leadership continuing to advance these Indian water rights settlements?
Thank you, Senator Flake. It's important, obviously, for the United States to protect the interests of tribes in water rights that they're provided under the text of treaties and pursuant to prior litigation settlements, and then there are often additional litigations that are brought. There are long lines of cases that federal judges prefer settlements over contentious litigation that goes on for years and years and can't be resolved. Water rights litigation in general stream adjudications are particularly thorny, and if they are litigated to a judgment, can take very long periods of time. So I'm in favor of cooperative resolutions via settlement of those kinds of adjudications. Just as you say, Senator, they can provide faster certainty than the courts can provide, and they can be more efficient and save court resources and litigant resources.
Okay. You just answered my second question on stream adjudication. We have an issue that adjudication of the Gila River entered its 43rd year this spring. So these are important, and you see the same role there as trying to avoid litigation if we can.
Yes, Senator.
Okay. Thank you. Another question. Arizona has a long history of hard rock mining, particularly for copper. In school in Arizona, we learned the 5 C's that are important to Arizona's economy, and copper is one of those. We also have a strong and effective Department of Environmental Quality in Arizona. And the EPA has, under a court order, produced a final rule regarding financial assurance requirements or bonding for hard rock mining under CERCLA. I'm concerned that the proposed rule released last December does not adequately take into account the highly effective state laws that are already in effect in Arizona. In fact, these laws could be preempted by the proposed rule. CERCLA enforcement falls under your purview in this new position, if you get it. Can you give us your thoughts about potential federal preemption of effective state environmental laws?
Certainly, Senator. So the first point I would make is that I believe in federalism and in the interests of the states, and most of the major environmental laws are written as cooperative federalism statutes, so they're designed to take the interests of the state into account, and I would certainly do that if I were fortunate enough to be confirmed. In terms of the issue of first determining if there's effective regulation at the state level, as to any discretionary action that a federal official took, they should certainly take that into account, and they should certainly be open and willing to working with the states to get their perspective, to get their input, and to help shape decisions from that input. And then the last thing I'd say on CERCLA preemption is, my understanding is that CERCLA preemption is fairly narrow. I haven't worked on a lot of CERCLA preemption cases, but it might be difficult in some instances to take a position that CERCLA preempts state action in this area.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, just have a minute here, but the Office of Legal Policy is DOJ's think tank, and responsible for developing policy initiatives. It's a high priority of the department and the administration. One thing we've had in Arizona that's been extremely effective over the years is something called Operation Streamline. It basically high consequences for illegal crossing of the border. It's been effective, particularly in the Yuma sector, at bringing crossings extremely low and to a minimum, but under the last administration, they decided to go the other direction, and so there are very few enforcements for first-time crossers. A consequence of that, the cartels and the human smugglers realized pretty quickly where the consequences are and where they aren't, and we're fearful that there'll be increased crossings in some of these areas that we've tamped them down. Can you commit to work with the Attorney General and others as we reevaluate the effectiveness of these programs that we've had?
Well, thank you, Senator. It's certainly the job of the Department of Justice to enforce the law consistent with its resources. And if this is an operation that's been effective, I certainly think that it's worth further study as to how it can be implemented, how and whether it should be extended or implemented further.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.